Hi everyone. It's been a while since I've done anything, so I thought I'd better get onto it. And I've had so many comments about my date scones that I thought it's about time I made my other favourite, the cheese scones. So here we go. I'll just move over here and get started. So I'm going to use my food processor again just to combine the butter and the dry ingredients. So firstly, 3 cups of flour, and that's standard flour. Goes into the food processor. Don't worry about sifting or anything like that. 6 teaspoons of baking powder. Now if you normally just have self-raising flour in your house, well then you would use 3 cups of that plus another 3 teaspoons of baking powder, 3 to 4 teaspoons of baking powder. I've got half a teaspoon of salt there, and a teaspoon of sugar. Now that is optional, but you know that secret of a lot of those recipes, just that little hint of added sugar makes it that little bit better. That's in there. And then I've got about probably about 80 grams actually of chilled butter cut into cubes. And in we go. Now I'm just going to pulse it until it's still chunky. I don't want it really well blended in. If you don't have a food processor, or you'd rather just do it by hand, another good way is to grate your chilled butter and then just sort of rub it into your flour mixture. But I'm just going to pulse it now. You can see the lumps of butter are sort of that size. So you don't want to, as I said, rub it in too far. Perhaps I'll just give it another second. Okay, that should do it. Right, all that into a large bowl. Alright, I've got about a cup and a half of cheese, grated tasty cheese. I like to use the tasty cheese because it just has a lot more flavour. And I'm going to put most of it in here, leaving a little bit for the topping, about half a cup. Some chopped parsley. That's in there as well, just chopped up, just gives a nice bit of colour through the mixture. And some chopped bacon, and I've just fried it up gently and cooled it. And also with that, you can't really see it very well, but I would normally put chopped spring onions, but I didn't have any this morning, so I've decided to use some finely chopped red onion, and that's been cooked in with the bacon just to soften it a bit. Because really, once they're mixed into the dough, these things are not going to cook very well, so they need to be pre-cooked and cooled. Alright, so then that's all in the bowl there, and I'm just going to mix that together with a knife and make a bit of a well in the middle. Alright, so here we are. Oh, I just forgot the secret ingredient. Just a pinch or 2 of chili flakes just gives it that little lift. You don't have to put them in, but I just think it makes a bit of difference, and it's quite nice to see that fleck of red through the mixture. Have a couple of pinches of that. Okay, so in the middle I'm going to pour about a cup and a half of milk, which is exactly a cup and a half. You might find that in fact, what I usually do is hold back a little bit, because sometimes depending on the absorbency of the flour you might need more, sometimes you might need less. So I'm just going to pour most of it in, and I've got a little bit extra here just in case I need it. I'll see how it goes. I'm just using the knife again. You want to mix it to a soft dough, not too sticky. Now it's looking like might need a bit more in there, so we'll put it all in. You don't want it too sticky, but you also don't want it too dry, so it's got to be kind of just right. And actually, if you like to have a look in here, there's a little bit of dry flour at the bottom, but I think if I mix that just a little bit more, that's all going to be mixed in, so it looks pretty good. See, it's sort of holding together, but not too dry. I love these things. They're just so great for rolling out any kind of dough and then cleaning up afterwards. Just lift up the whole thing and put it in the sink. So dust with flour. And tip your dough onto the board or the sheet if you're using one. Put all those bits in. Just dust your hands slightly with a little bit of flour, and just it's really important at this stage to handle gently. You know, if you start pummeling the dough like you might with a bread dough, you're going to end up with quite tough scones. So really, perhaps kneading a couple of times like that, pretty gentle. And then what I like to do is pat mine into a round. So just press it out. Get a bit sticky on the hands. About there, that looks pretty good, and you can see little chunks of butter and cheese in the mixture, but that's good because then you get these little lovely pockets of flavour and juiciness. I've got my oven tray lined with a silicone sheet. I find that's the best because it doesn't stick, and this is a little tricky bit, but then it doesn't really matter if it goes a bit out of shape because you're going to be able to put it back in. There we are, onto there.
Yep.
So see what I mean about these things? I can just pick that up, carry it over to the sink, and virtually no mess at all. It's brilliant. Okay, so I've got my cheese in the leftover from what I used before in the mixture. Some seeds, some pumpkin and sunflower seeds. That gives it a really nice crunch on top of the scones, and some paprika. This lovely smoky paprika, about a teaspoonful. That in there, and just mix that together. Also, the paprika gives it that nice colour on top. Right, so now I like to brush that with the dough with a little bit of milk. Just tip it on and then spread it out. It's the easiest way. You could use some other cheese on topping as well if you wanted, like some Parmesan or some other cheese that you've got in your cupboard. Right, there we are. And then I'm going to cut the dough into some segments. I might need to just flour my knife a little bit, and I'll just pop that there. This method actually does take longer to cook, but it looks really good. And you know, if you're in a hurry, what you could do is separate these scones and they will cook a lot quicker. This method of doing it, they probably take about 25 minutes or so at 200 degrees Celsius. Alright, and they're just about ready for the oven, and they should be ready, as I said, in about 25 minutes. Just out of the oven, and they really smell delicious and they look great. I just love the way the paprika and cheese gives that lovely golden colour. So I'm just going to slide them off onto the board. There we are. And I've got my coffee ready, and we're going to try one. So just loosen it like that, pull away from each other, and there we go. Yum! You can see that the moist bits are the melted cheese, so it definitely is cooked. Yum! Would you like one too, darling?
Thank you, yes.
Right, let's put another one here.